Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this special edition of TTG's Face to Face. Senior reporter Tom Parry here, and I'm really privileged this morning to be joined by Vertical Systems Managing Director Chris North. Chris, how are you doing today?
Very good. A bit warm. We're based in sunny Essex, so we've got the best of the temperature. But yeah, very, very warm here at the moment.
Yeah, we're having a bit of sort of fan wars, aren't we, before kind of figuring out a few different bits. So we're all good. We are well sort of temperatured, well heated, cooled even. Good morning. Thank you everyone for joining us on Zoom and Facebook Live today. It's a special edition of Face to Face, all about mental health. We wanted to have a frank, honest discussion about the trials and tribulations the industry has been through the last 5 months, because undoubtedly there's been such intense pressure on travel professionals across the sector, and we've faced so many problems, and a lot haven't been our own making really in industry. So I think we wanted to give those sort of professional and personal strains that people have been under a spotlight, and talk openly, honestly, and frankly this morning. Please sort of put your comments and your questions to Chris and I when you can on Zoom and Facebook. That would be great. And Chris, I just wanted to ask, I know many people perhaps would have seen your incredibly frank and honest journey with mental health that you wrote about for TTG earlier this summer. I wanted to kick off really by asking, it's fantastic to have you here. What kind of the issue, why is it so important to you? It's incredibly close to your heart, isn't it? Getting out and people talking and opening up.
Yeah, it's very much so, and I think especially now with the challenges we're facing in our industry, our wonderfully brilliant travel industry has just been completely decimated from the coronavirus pandemic, and I don't think that we've been given the help we deserve in the industry. I think there's been a certain neglect from the government for the travel industry, which is a huge shame. And I've held some smaller sessions with agents, because a lot of people are suffering, a lot of people are struggling, and they feel so very isolated and alone. So this really is an attempt to just get people talking about their mental health. I was one who didn't talk about it for a long time, and instantly felt better for talking about it. It's almost a therapy in itself.
Yeah, oh, fantastic. Well, it's a real pleasure to have you with us, Chris. And
Thank you.
yeah, I would just like to let you sort of do your thing, really, and please sort of tell us your story and how you sort of work through your own sort of mental health journey. And Chris, sort of take it away.
Yeah, no problem. Well, first of all, I like to describe mental health in an analogy. So if you was to imagine a really fabulous shiny looking car, looks fantastic and shiny and amazing, but inside that car the engine is broken, that car won't work. So looking after your brain and your mental health is your engine. So if your mental health isn't in a good place, you aren't going to operate to the best of what you can be. So my story, back in last year, I started to suffer very, very badly with my mental health, specifically with depression. I was in a very, very dark place. So people who know me professionally know me as a really bubbly person. If we're at an event, I'll get round everyone in the room. I'm the guy who stands up and fronts the business with presentations and so on. But my wife described me as a ghost of myself. So I became very, very stressed. I went through a period of not getting along with my wife, and I was but I was being very unfair to my children. I was shouting at my children when it wasn't warranted. Very, very stressy. I became very unsociable. So if my friends were to arrange a meet, I wouldn't go. And I was spending too much time alone. One of the signs for me was that I was sleeping too much, and I don't mean sleeping throughout the day. I was going to bed very, very early. I literally finish work and I'll just crash out. And I did that because it was an escape for me from the depression. Well, the very sad thing from that is you're escaping it whilst you're asleep, but when you wake up, you have to deal with your day. And for some people, that can be a real task in itself. I felt like I was a bit of a freak, in all honesty. I felt that I was the only one who felt like this, and I just couldn't understand it. I just couldn't grasp why I felt as bad as I did. I went through a time where I was really, really concerned because I started losing my memory. So I'd have meetings at work, and I'd leave the meeting. I wouldn't even know what had been discussed. So I thought there was something medically wrong with me. at that point. But I later learned that because my head was so full of depression and stories and pressures, I was struggling to take, it's a bit like a hard drive, it can only take so much before it starts rejecting the informations. So I had a feeling of wanting to give up and wanting to disappear. And the reason I'm so keen for people to talk is it was such a short period of time between me feeling very low to me feeling, in all honesty, suicidal. So I contemplated suicide. And this is a very honest, frank, very dark, very deep discussion. I considered cutting myself, which again, I couldn't understand why I felt like that. I would be in my car driving to work or to a meeting, and whenever I was alone, I would even look at locations where I would consider crashing my car. I just wanted to escape. I wanted to run away, but run away from life. And it even got to the point where I was plotting a date and a time, and I was considering hanging, which is horrific, and I beat myself up with guilt every time I talk about it now. But back then, I had no regard for the consequence. So you get into such a jaded bubble that I didn't have any regard for the damage that it would do to my wonderful wife, who's been phenomenal throughout this, I must say. I've got two beautiful, brilliant, amazing children, and I didn't have any regard for the damage it would do to them. I had an amazing childhood, brilliant childhood, and in my 20s, I travelled all around the world. I'm only 40 years old, but I've had a really, really nice life. I don't suffer depression because I was abused as a child or I had a bad upbringing or anything like that. My parents are like my best friends. I've got a group of friends now who were my group of friends when I was at junior and infant school, so from 6 years old, so I feel very privileged to have all of that, but I just felt very, very low, and really couldn't snap out of it. So I broke down one morning to my wife, and I finally admitted to myself that I had a bit of a problem and I needed to do something about it. And my wife urged me to see a doctor, and at this point I then admitted to myself that I'd probably suffered with depression specifically for about the last 10 years, but I mask it very well. I put on a smile, but I'll be smiling on the outside, but I was just dying on the inside. So I was urged to go and see a doctor, and I did. I went and visited a doctor. In all honesty, they weren't that great. I was given antidepressants and I was almost fobbed off. But whilst I was in the surgery, I did see an advert on the wall for Therapy for You, which helps people with depression and anxiety and so on. And I called up the number and I was assessed and accepted to their program because they saw me as a risk. But there was a 6-month wait list, which at that time, where I was in this rut and I was in this very, very low place, that was too long for me. I needed help now. So as they saw me as a risk, they connected me with the Samaritans. And I've never, ever spoken to anyone within the Samaritans before. I knew it existed. I didn't really know a great deal about it. But I then received a call a day later from a man. I didn't know him. I didn't know where he was. All I knew was his name, his first name. And he started talking to me and I started opening up about how I was feeling. And these guys, I can't praise them enough for what they do. They're trained in such a way that they give you reassurance. They make you feel valued. They make you feel normal. And I really wasn't feeling normal at this stage. And if you picture this, I was sitting at the end of my garden in a cabin on my own, having this conversation with a stranger, bleeding my heart out, really sobbing away. So at that moment, I finished on a call with the Samaritans and I got a message from my brother. So I've got 2 older brothers, and my middle brother messaged me and he said, "Mum said you're feeling, low. Give me a ring." So I gave him a call, and I instantly tried to put on a brave face, and I just said that I'm struggling. Work's tough. Me and Sarah aren't getting on, and so on. And then a couple of minutes in, I just broke down, and I told him how I was feeling and just how drastic this was. And also the things that I was considering, again, with the suicide and so on. And I hit a bit of a crossroads here. So me and my brothers have got a bit of a tough love relationship, as brothers do, you know, dead arms and taking the mickey out of each other and so on. And my brother said to me, he said, Chris, you might be bigger than me, you're my little brother, and I'll do whatever I can to protect you. And he went on to tell me that he had some troubles in his late 20s. So I instantly felt empathy for him, and I felt reassured again because I'd spoken about it. I wasn't alone. I wasn't the only person feeling like this. So I then proceeded to talk to my fellow directors at work, mentioning Pete and Nikki. And it's important to mention as well, Nikki supports families who have members who suffer with anorexia as well. She's brilliant in that. But I spoke to my fellow directors, and they were amazing. They said, "Look, we can tell you're not yourself. We'll support you. Do whatever you need to do." Shortly after that, I felt I needed to approach the owner. So I've worked with Peter Healy, the owner of Vertical Systems, since I was 18, and I'm now 40. I've worked for him on and off in various different businesses. And I've got a big job here. I'm the managing director of a business. Lots of people are reliant on this business and me. And I was concerned talking about it to him. Am I going to lose my job? You know, is he going to see me that I'm not good enough to do this job? The reality was, he was amazing, and he said, "Chris, whatever you need, I'm there. I'm side by side with you." He even offered to throw any amount of money at any kind of help that I felt I needed. And again, I instantly felt better. So just for talking about it, I realised I wasn't alone, and everybody around me just wanted to help. He offered me time off. I didn't take it because I didn't want to feel more isolated than I was. I thought, I'm just going to power through. We're just going to keep working and so on. So at this point, my wife runs a wellness business, which again is a big help to me in itself. And she did a treatment with a customer, and she told the customer about my situation. And the customer said, I know a man who can help. His name's Lawrence, and this is his number. So Sarah, my wife, gave me the number, and being a typical man, I didn't call him for a number of days, which is ridiculous. And eventually I did call him. My wife, she got on my case, rightly so. She said, "Chris, come on now. You know, this guy might help. Give him a ring." So I called up Lawrence, and I left a voicemail, and I said, Lawrence, I don't know who you are or what you are, but I hear you might be able to help me. Please give me a call. And this man called me back, and he has worked in mental health his whole life. He's worked for the Samaritans, he worked for the NHS, and he's created his own program to help people like me. And he assessed me over the phone, and he said, "Chris, I want you to join my program. I know I can help you." He was that assured that he could definitely help me. So I enrolled on his program, and it's important to say, I said to Lawrence, "How much is this going to cost me?" Because I was expecting this to cost thousands and thousands of pounds. He said, "Chris, there's no charge." He said, "You know, join the program. I can help you," which is very, very special in itself. So Lawrence is just a brilliant man, and every conversation you have with Lawrence makes you feel brilliant about yourself. So he wrote this program. It was 8 sessions of 2 hours with him, and he really makes you feel good at every opportunity, even down to reconfirming your appointment. So I would send him a text, say, "Lawrence, are we still on for 6 o'clock tonight?" And his reply would be, "Chris, of course we are. Remember what a brilliant person you are, an amazing dad to your children." And he has a way of lifting you. It's almost like a drug. He can lift you at every single opportunity. So I enrolled on his program. He went on to tell me that you're completely normal. I said to him, I feel very much like a freak, because I really obsessed over suicide. I became infatuated with it. It was all I could think about. And he said, "Chris, 1 in 4 people suffer. It's very normal." He explained to me the reason why people cut themselves is because it's an escape of the pain. So because you are going through such pain in your head with your depression and your anxiety and your thoughts, when you cut your wrist, the pain goes away. It goes from your head to your wrist. Well, it's a pretty damning way to do it, but he advised me that's why people do it. So there was some real key game-changing bits of information that I learned from Lawrence that I've taken from the program and I've passed on to people, and I use not every day, but very, very common now in my daily life. So he confirmed to me that people with depression make up stories. So the way he described this to me, he said, when do you feel at your lowest? And I advised, on Sunday nights. He said, why Sunday nights? You know, you're at home with a family, you're not working. I said, because I'm dreading the week ahead. I've got a lot to do. He said, okay, tell me about the week. So I went on to explain. On Monday morning, I've got a meeting in Manchester. As I said at the beginning, we're in Essex. So I'm up at 5, I leave at 6. I'm going to get stuck in traffic. I've got a meeting in Manchester, which is going to go badly. I'm going to get stuck in traffic on the way home. I'm going to get home late and I'll be exhausted. I'm too old for this. I'm 40 years old now. Up and down the motorway really takes its toll. He said, okay, so tell me about Tuesday. I said, in Tuesday, I'm in London first thing. I've got a meeting. It's going to go badly. Then I've got to go and deal with some other stuff that's going to be tough. Then I'm back in the office and I've got to deal with some stuff and it's going to be really, really, really difficult. And he said to me, right, just stop for a moment. He said, let's talk about Monday. He said, so the facts are on Monday, you've got to go to Manchester and you may get stuck in traffic, but you can't do anything about that. The facts are that you've got to go to a meeting. He said, tell me about the meeting. Did the last meeting you had with these people go badly? And I said, no, not at all. He said, so did the meeting before that go badly? And I said, no. He said, has a meeting with these guys in Manchester ever gone badly? And I said, no, we've got a great relationship with these guys. He said, but do you see what you've done? You've created the worst possible outcome for your day and your week, and you're piling pressure on yourself. And he explained to me that you need to base every single one of your decisions and emotions on facts alone and nothing else. Life is tough. Don't put more pressure on yourself than you need. There is unnecessary pressure. And again, referencing people with depression make up stories. I built up a terrible view of my week, which just wasn't true. So we went on then, he went on to teach me about positive and negative egos. And he explained that everyone has a positive and negative ego. And it's so important to feed your positive ego. And by that, I mean, your positive ego, you need to tell yourself how brilliant you are. So in the travel industry, if you have a great day of sales and you make loads of commission and your customer says you're brilliant, tell yourself you're brilliant. You're brilliant at your job. You're the best at your job, and feed your positive ego. And he explained, because your negative ego is a bit like a little gremlin sitting on your shoulder, and it's always ready to get you. So if you feed it the slightest bit of negativity, it can spiral into something quite bad. So an example of feeding the negative ego is, I haven't done a booking for a couple of days. The customers are shouting at me because of the refunds. Maybe I'm not so good at this job anymore. Do I need to get another job? I look terrible. I feel fat. My husband hasn't spoken to me. Hasn't told me he loves me for a day. Is he having an affair? And do you see how it's spiraled into such a calamity, such a horrible mess, just off the back of slightly feeding this negative ego? So the basing everything on fact is key, and feeding your positive ego rather than your negative is key. Also, I surrounded myself by key people who knew of my situation. So I met with my very best friend who I traveled the world with, and I told him my situation. Again, he was brilliant, and he burst into tears because he felt empathy that I'd been going through this on my own. And I had my brother, I had my wife, I had my key people at work, I had the owner at work. And these people, I just asked them, just check in with me every now and then. If you notice that I'm acting differently, or I feel, you seem like I'm down, just check in. And my brother, even now, will still send me just a quick text. How you doing? Haven't checked in for a while. Is everything okay? I also changed my routine. So if you always do what you always did, you feel how you always felt. If you change your routine and do something different, you will feel differently for that. So if you're feeling depressed, don't keep doing the same thing that makes you feel depressed. So I as I mentioned to you on the beginning of this, when we were talking privately, Tom, I've got back into my golf. Love playing golf. It's a bit of a release for me, but I make a point now. I get out once a week and I play golf, and that's, again, almost like a therapy in itself. So to summarize, there isn't a cure. I am on antidepressants. I'll probably be on antidepressants for my rest of my life. Who cares? I've got no problem with that. The therapy that I've undergone has definitely made me a better version of me, be the best of me that I can be. And there is no question that had I admitted to myself 10 years prior that I'd had some problems, those 10 years would probably have been better. I mean, I'm not saying they were bad. I had my children in those 10 years. It was an amazing 10 years of my life, but there is no question there were some dark times. And I wish that I'd spoken out earlier. I wish that I'd surrounded myself with my key people earlier. But just talking about this is therapy in itself, believe me. To realize you're not alone, you're not a freak, you're completely normal. Everybody has ups and downs and so on. And even me talking to you about it now is almost a therapy for me. So I now speak very openly with my wife. We have marriage and so on isn't easy. Having children isn't easy. Everybody has ups and downs, but I now manage it. I don't quite get to the dark place that I would go to before, because I use what I've learned as tools to help me through. But yeah, big respect to my wife, who's been amazing throughout. Like I say, I think we've all learned a lot from it, as part of my journey. But talking is key, and that's why I think that's the reason we're doing this, Tom, is to eradicate the taboo that surrounds mental health. People should be able to talk about it. I'm a 6'3", big 40-year-old guy, and I'm talking about my feelings, and to me that's brilliant. That eradicates this whole taboo, and people should be able to talk, because it will most definitely save lives.
Yeah, it is brilliant, Chris. I thank you so much for being so open and so candid and so honest. I'm sure we all so appreciate that. You mentioned at the start that you've been holding sessions for staff within the vertical group, and I just wanted to get and a lot of those are sort of frontline agents, aren't they, working right now through the crisis? Yeah, and I wanted to get your take on what kind of issues and pressures they've been under. Are you seeing some of the same problems and issues that people are facing? I suppose everyone's story is different, isn't it? What kind of feedback are you getting during those sessions?
Yeah, so one of the managers approached me after reading the article, and she said, would you be prepared to do a session? And that's how this whole thing started. So I didn't really know how it was going to be received, because I think that when the guys joined me on the first one, they probably thought that this was just going to be a very generic, almost a little bit of a preachy discussion. And because I can now speak very openly about it, the fact that I was considering killing myself is a terrible thing. And we have lots of tears, lots of the guys break down into tears. The brilliant thing in those sessions is all of them are struggling. Our industry is having the toughest time it's ever had, and people's mental health is suffering. And on these calls, it's brilliant, because after I tell my story, it encourages people to open up. This isn't about me. I've had my therapy and so on. This is just about other people talking, communicating, talking about your challenges. And it might be that someone else has a really good idea that I think I need to use, that they bring to me. So they encourage people to talk. And we had, some brilliant feedback from them. And even from your article that you ran back in May, that I wrote for you, I received text messages from people who were in my phone that I didn't even know, that I'd given them my business card over time, and they read it, and they felt the need to text me to say it was so refreshing to someone to speak out, to talk about it. I had some of my customers who are very, very fantastic, successful business people, telling me that they have demons and they suffer, and I would have had no idea, because they're so confident and so professional and so on. And the truth is, this is what depression looks like, big smiley face and the big teeth and so on. This is what it looks like. And there's been some very public suicides with the likes of Caroline Flack. Who would have thought that would have happened? Beautiful, successful, brilliant lady, obviously in a bad place in her relationship, and she felt the only way out was that, and that's terrible. This hopefully this will save lives just by people talking.
And you've had agents and travel professionals reach out to you after the sessions, haven't you? And you've helped them, and you've sort of sent them in the right way for support. And what would sort of be your top sort of tip or takeaway, Chris, if you could? I suppose everyone's situation is different, but things that you think, given the current situation, would be that the negative and positive ego, I think, is definitely one, isn't it? Considering all the changes and uncertainties right now, people can only sort of deal with what actually they can, not perhaps in their head, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, the key really is don't suffer in silence. because it won't improve. You know, don't feel ashamed to speak out and talk to people about it. Talking is key in all of this. You don't have to go on antidepressants. You don't have to go through forms of therapy and so on. Just talking about it is a therapy in itself, as I say. And yeah, I feel it, especially for the agents and the tour operators, you know, you guys have no control right now over the damage that this virus is doing to your business. If there's a block on flights to a destination, you can't do anything about it. And usually in travel, we've had ash clouds, we have strikes and so on. But you can sell your way out of it, if you know what I mean. So yeah, you have a tough time, but then you'll run a great campaign and you'll make all your money back and sell your way out of it. Well, at the moment, you can't sell your way out of it because you can't sell it in some cases. So yeah, it's tough, and I think your campaign to save travel is brilliant, and I really wish the government would get behind it and help, because you know, what kind of place will this be without travel? You know, it's all of our passion. So we need to all get behind that.
Yeah, we had a comment from Kate here, and she asks that perhaps in the travel industry, you know, a lot of us are very bubbly, very open, very upbeat people, and like you said, with the element of travel as well, which has been restricted and denied for many people in the industry so far. Do you think perhaps that people in the industry feel the highs and they feel the lows harder perhaps than in others, because it's such a maybe a high octane, exciting industry, isn't it? And things have changed so drastically, so quickly. Do you think?
Yeah. It's been turned upside down. So first of all of us are in this industry because we love to travel, and travel is our passion. And not being able to travel, first of all, you know, it will affect you. But secondly, you know, if knowing what an agent or an operator are dealing with at the moment, where it's just customers call after call shouting at you, requesting refunds and so on, and it's very sad because it's out of your control. If you've got the money, give it back. If you haven't got the money, you can't give it back. And I know lots of agents have said they've had customers who have been with them for years and years and years, and they've always been brilliant, and they've just turned so nasty. And you understand that we're all victim of the circumstance here. You get the customer wants their money back because they may have been furloughed, they may not be earning their salary, but if you haven't been given the money back, you can't give it back. So I feel that, you know, you almost describe people in the travel industry at the moment as a punch bag. You know, they're just being punched all day long, and that is going to affect your mental health. So do something different, do something you like, get away from it. If you're having a bad day, go and enjoy yourself. You know, go and put a smile on your face. Tell yourself you're brilliant. All of us are in this industry because we're brilliant at what we do within it. So, you know, tell yourself that. You know, Tom Parry, brilliant. I've watched a number of your interviews here, and you guys are fantastic at what you do. So make sure you tell yourselves that you're wonderfully brilliant at what you do, and stand up a little bit taller. You know that you know I'm good at this. You know, I'm the man for this. Yeah. It's so important.
Yeah, and considering how, you know, the crisis doesn't really seem to be going anywhere, it's going to be with us for a while, and these changes, these uncertainties are going to be there. I imagine that from your perspective, Chris, you probably see that the issues that we're talking about today just kind of become more and more apparent and more heavy and more pressurized as things go on, right? As businesses become more a threat and things don't improve.
Yeah, it's very sad that, you know, either people you're very lucky if you haven't been furloughed, you're very lucky if you've still got a job right now. So feel lucky for that. It's very tough for businesses and employers as well, because they're having to make some really tough decisions. You know, people being made redundant who have worked in businesses and been brilliant in those businesses for a long time. But if businesses at the moment don't cut costs, there won't be any business. So it's very difficult, very challenging to get that balance. But I think that it would be great for some real industry bodies to get hold of this with mental health, and in an attempt to get people talking. Maybe we should start a hashtag like it's good to talk or something like that, because this is key. You know, the fact that we're even having this talk now is game changing. Believe me, there will be so many people out there who may just think at the moment they feel a little bit low. Well, I only felt a little bit low, and it was a very short period of time until I felt really incredibly low, and that I had no other option. And we just need to stop that from happening.
Yeah, I can just see now, just from many of the comments on the Facebook chat here, there's so many people praising your story, Chris, for being so honest and being so supportive, and it seems as if everyone is in the same position, aren't we? We are one travel industry really, and it does seem that everyone is, as I said, the punch bag being that that analogy. I just wanted to mention TTG Save Travel Week. It was next week. It's action around our Save Travel campaign. So sort of look out for that later this week as we announce that. But one of the days we're looking to focus on the importance of mental health and for people to reach out to colleagues and to industry professionals in the same area and same town, and just sort of drop them a text or send them a tweet or go into their store and do stuff like that. So hopefully maybe look out for more information there. And Chris, really as we sort of come to a bit of a close, I just wanted to say if there was anything else you wanted to say that you really think people should know, or something that perhaps your greatest learning from this time. I imagine things have changed so much, and as you said, how does it feel every time to recount that story? Does it sort of make things better? As you said, sort of talking is the best therapy in a way, isn't it?
It is. I do feel guilty because I'm now fully aware of the damage that it would have done to people around me, to my mum, my dad, my brothers, my children, my colleagues, and so on. I would have left, but I would have left a complete devastation behind. But I also feel almost like a different person now, that you do have to feed the positive ego. Remember that you do have to base things on facts, and it will take all of that nonsense pressure away that people are putting on themselves. I want to add that not one person that I spoke to about it said to me, pull your socks up and sort yourself out. Everybody was brilliant. So talking about it is the key. We can't bang that drum enough. You have to talk. You have to open up, because you will realize you're not alone. You're not a freak. It's perfectly normal. And sometimes just someone saying, but it's not that bad, is it? Look at how good you are. Look at what a brilliant person you are. Look at how lucky you are. And yeah, people, just don't suffer in silence. That's the message.
Yeah, the industry is so collaborative, isn't it? And so friendly. And we see it all the time with rival companies and rival brands helping each other out. Everyone's in the same boat. So yeah, I'm sure people will sort of reach out, especially after seeing this. And
I think once this virus, I mean, it can't come soon enough, but once this is over, there's one thing the travel industry knows how to do, and that's to throw a party. And there are going to be some of the biggest parties, events, and so on ever, and rightly so. And we can all get back to having a bit of normality in our lives, enjoying ourselves, and going and laying on a beach somewhere very, very nice and having a nice time.
Yeah, I think we can all cheers to that one. I think definitely. But yeah, thank you so much to everyone that's joined us. I hope you found it enjoyable and informative, and you've really got something out of this. Chris, would it be okay for people to contact you afterwards if they wanted to?
Yeah, feel free. I'm on Facebook. I'm I've no problem with you giving my details and so on. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. All I can do is tell my story and what helped me. But I'm first of all, most importantly, ready to listen. Secondly, ready to talk. So no problem.
No problem at all. So yeah, please perhaps maybe drop me a line and I can pass on Chris's details. That's tparry, TPARRY at ttgmedia.com, and the address is on the website and stuff. But thank you very much, Chris, and thank you all very much for joining us on this special edition of TTG Face to Face. Keep up the good, fantastic work, everyone. Everyone is working so hard for their customers and for their businesses. So let's all try and get through this. And yeah, thanks very much for joining us. And thanks again, Chris. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks a lot. Take care, guys.
Bye, everyone.